Hey, I'm Liz from No Trace. You might recall that I've been working my way through different variations of a very cute bag I saw at Target the other day. I'm showing a picture of it right here. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to add straps, short straps to the bag, just like the version that is pictured. And I'm also going to show you in this video how to add a really simple interior or exterior zippered pocket. This is super easy to add and it just gives the bag a lot more functionality. So let's jump in. Okay, as usual, I have all of the measurements written out in the description box underneath this video, so you can just click underneath to write everything down. And I also have a PDF sewing pattern for the mini backpack that has this variation and a whole bunch of other variations. The link to get that is also underneath this video. I'm going to show you how to add the interior zippered pocket first, and you're going to need your interior fabric. So these are 2 panels that are 12 inches wide, 14 inches tall. You're also going to need a 5-inch zipper, and then you'll also need a scrap of fabric that is 8 inches wide and 10 inches tall. The first thing we're going to do is flip the fabric for the pocket over, so we're looking at the wrong side, and then it's helpful to have a cutting mat or a ruler or both. We actually want to mark a line that is 1 inch down from the top edge on the wrong side of the fabric. So I'm just going to take my chalk. Actually, let me get my darker chalk. All right, I have my blue chalk, which hopefully you can see a little better. So I am just marking a line that's 1 inch from the top. And then I'm going to mark a second line that is a 1/2 inch below that line. And I can see my first line's a little crooked. I'm going to try to fix that. Now the zipper is 5 inches, so we want the opening for the zipper to be a little bit larger. So I like an opening that is 5.5 inches for a 5-inch zipper. So I am going to find the center of my fabric, and this is 8 inches wide, so the center is 4 inches. That's the middle. And then I want this length to be 5.5 inches. So the middle of that is 2 3/4 of an inch is the center. So I'm going to mark a line here and then flip this around and put 2 3/4 at the center right there. Mark a line here and then just double check that my opening is 5.5 inches. Well, I'm a little bit off. Let's bring it in a little bit. Okay, so there's my opening, and you can always double check that your zipper is going to fit in there, but you don't want a ton of extra room for your zipper. Once we have this marked out, we are going to get one of our liner panels. Doesn't matter which one, and we want to place the right side of the pocket fabric to the right side of the liner fabric, and we actually want to center it at 2 inches from this top edge. So this is 12 inches, so I know the center is 6. And I want it 2 inches from the top edge. And there's my center mark. So I'm going to line up my little center marks from here with 6 inches there. And then I'm going to pin these 2 right sides together. And now I'm going to sew right on top of my rectangle, right through both layers of fabric. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got these 2 pieces sewn together, and what I want to do next is mark a line in the middle of my stitches It doesn't have to be super exact, just kind of ballpark it. And then I want to mark a line from the middle to the corners. So I'm going to have like little bitty triangles in the corners of my rectangle. And then I'm going to take my scissors and I am going to make a little cut between both layers of fabric right along that center line. And then I'm going to carefully follow it towards the corners. And when I get to the peak of my little triangle, I'm going to cut to the corners. And I want to get as close to that corner stitch as I can without actually cutting it. So you want to be careful and take your time so you have a nice little triangle coming off one end of your rectangle, and then you're going to go ahead and repeat that on the other end of your rectangle. And once you have that finished, actually I might as well trim this loose thread here, you are going to push your pocket fabric into that opening to the back of your liner fabric. So it's kind of like magic. And your liner fabric looks kind of like this. The back looks kind of like this. And next up, we need to iron this area. And you'll probably get a little bit of bunching or pleating on the corners. And that's okay. If it bothers you, you can try to trim a little bit closer to your stitches. But as long as the front looks good, I wouldn't worry about any bunching happening on the back. Okay, it's ironed and it looks just like a little slot from a mailbox, and that's what you want. So now we are going to take our zipper and put it to the back of our liner fabric, and then we want to pin the zipper in place. Now I know some people use Wonder Tape. I try to avoid using disposable single-use stuff like that. But if you already have it, you might as well use it up. And you can use that to tape the zipper onto the fabric. But I find that pins work just fine. It just takes a second longer. And we just want to do our best to make it nice and flat. Once it's pinned, it's time to sew. Okay, so now the zipper is sewn in place onto both layers of fabric, and the next thing to do is to flip it around, and we want to bring the bottom edge of the pocket fabric up to the top edge, and we want to line up the sides. So line up these two, just fold it in half is basically what you're doing. You're folding your pocket fabric in half, and then you're pinning it together. Oops. And then we're going to sew it closed. And that is how you make a very simple pocket. Obviously, when we go to sew, we don't want to sew the liner fabric. We only want to sew the pocket fabric. So what I like to do is just pull this fabric out of the way and just start sewing here and working my way down. Pull this out of the way, keep going, pull that out of the way, and keep going and stop right there. And I'm also going to do a zigzag stitch afterwards just to prevent any fraying from happening. Okay. It's finished. The pocket is good to go. It's always a good idea to check your zipper, and you could even test out your pocket, but it looks great. The next thing to do is to sew the two liner fabrics right sides together with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And I'm also going to box the corners with a 2-inch square. I have more videos where I walk you through boxing the corners on the mini backpack with a lot of detail. So I am linking to those videos underneath this video if you want a little more guidance on how to do the corners. Okay, so the liner layers are sewn together and they have been boxed. I'm going to turn them right side out so you can see them. I've already gone ahead and done all of the same steps with the outer layers. I also attached the straps to the back panel of the outer layers. And like I mentioned, I have full detailed tutorials for how to do this part in the description box below this video. So the next thing I'm going to walk you through is how to add some short handle straps that are going to be at the top edge of the bag. So I have 2 pieces of 1-inch wide strap. These are each 12 inches long. And we are going to be placing these in between the outer layers and the inner layers. So first thing to do is to get the inside layer into the outer layer, and I like to put the zippered pocket up against the straps. So I'm just going to slide it in like so. So the zipper is touching the straps, and then I'm going to go ahead and line these layers up on the sides and pin them together. And you might already know that I like to open up the side seams when I'm trying to line them up with each other, but you don't have to do that. And then I'm going to just put a clip right there. I'm going to repeat that on this side. And I'm also, nope, I'm not going to put a pin in the middle. Usually I put a pin in the middle. I'm not going to do that because I'm going to add the straps. Almost forgot. Okay, so the sides are lined up. And now we want to get these straps inside. So we're going to start with one strap and fold it in half. And then we want to point the loop towards the bottom of the bag. And it's going to go in between the right sides of the inner and the outer fabric. And make sure it doesn't get twisted when you slide it in there. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to measure where the straps are coming out. So I want them to be centered. Actually, I'm going to throw a clip in here so this little strap doesn't run away from me. Okay, I want the ends of the straps to be centered 3 inches away from the side seam. So there's a big clip there. This will be easier if there's just a little pin here. Okay, so we can place our side seam on a line on our cutting mat, or if you have a ruler, use a ruler. And then we're measuring from the side seam up 3 inches, 1, 2, 3. So we want this end to be centered right at that 3-inch mark and sandwiched between 2 of the layers. And then I'm going to go ahead and pin it in place. And I might bend a pin, but that's okay. That's what they're for, right? Okay, now we're going to come to this side of the bag. I'm going to swap a clip for a pin to make my life a little easier. And then I'm going to line up that side seam on a mark on my mat and then measure up 1, 2, 3. And we want this end to be centered right there at 3. And then bring all these layers up so you have a nice tidy little sandwich. You can also make sure your strap feels like it's straight up and down in there. Straight up and down here, right at this section. It's going to start to curve down in here, obviously. Okay, once these feel good, actually I'm going to fix this one. Okay, these two ends of the strap feel like they're pretty straight there, so I'm gonna go ahead and flip this bag around, and I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. You can also use your first strap ends to guide where you put this next strap in, or you can, again, measure like we did before. So I'll be right back. Okay, all the strap ends are pinned in place. So the next thing to do is to sew along the top edge of the opening here with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, but I am gonna leave an opening between the straps on the front side of the bag, which is actually over here. So we can turn the whole thing right side out. And I'm also gonna reinforce each of the straps with extra rows of stitches so that my little handles are super secure. Time to sew. Okay, I finished the top seam. I'm sorry I forgot to use a darker thread. You can kind of see it here, and there's an opening here between the straps on the front side of the bag. So now I'm going to turn the whole thing right side out through this opening. Then I'm going to iron the top edge of the bag. Then we're going to install the zipper gusset. So let me get this turned right side out, and I will be right back. All right, it's coming together. It's almost finished. So I'm gonna go ahead and push the liner fabric inside. And like I mentioned, I'm just going to iron this top edge really nicely, especially at my opening. Okay, I finished ironing this top edge, and now I'm getting the zipper gusset pinned in place. I found the centers, and I am just tucking it in and pinning it along the long edge. And again, if you want more info on how to make the zipper gusset and how to install it, I'm linking to another video right below. And now it's all finished. The zipper gusset is sewn in place. I also hemmed the straps because I like to wait to the end to do that. And you can always, it's always a good idea to test out your zippers. Everything is looking great. This little bag is ready for action, ready to be carried by hand or worn on your back, or maybe a little bit of both. And like I mentioned, if you are looking for more versions of this fun mini backpack, I am linking to a PDF pattern in the description box below this video.